Good.
Hello, welcome back to the Rangers News YouTube channel. My name's James Black and I'm joined by Cammy Willis and Jordan Carlisle as we have a look ahead at this Thursday's Europa League clash with Royal Antwerp and a wee bit of breaking news this morning that might make people a wee bit sad. If you've not heard, Neil Lennon is no longer Celtic boss, much to the chagrin of half of Glasgow. Celtic fans are gutted he's no longer there to fail horribly. Rangers fans desperate for him to be there 3 weeks time for the Old Firm game and Rangers go to Parkhead as champions. Before we look at the two of them in a bit more depth though, I'd just like to ask that everybody likes and subscribes. It would really help us grow the channel. We've just recently hit 5,000 subscribers and we really want to kind of hit 6 and keep growing, provide new content. But Lennon, he's gone. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Jordan, what's your thoughts?
I'm kind of surprised at the timing, to be fair, because I don't think there's anything to separate this from the multiple other poor results that they've had over a long period of time. I was actually thinking about it. I was thinking about it last night before it actually happened, with no thought that this might actually be coming anytime soon, because it just looked like that was what it was going to be. They just see it out till the end of the season. But I cannot think of any club in a position where they would be chasing leagues, chasing trophies, and have a manager who have performed so poorly, and the team have been performing so poorly for so long without making a decision and without getting rid of said manager. It was incredible that he lasted so long, considering that he clearly lost the dressing room. The supporters have been literally fuming, basically outside the ground protesting with the pitchforks for months.
The car park, Declan, to the car park.
Yeah, it's literally, the fact that it's taken this long is the biggest surprise. And yeah, I just thought he was going to see it out and get the big payday or whatever when they had to sort of move him on. But the resignation came, so I don't know really where it leaves him. It's a bit of a weird one. He literally could have done it months ago, and I think it would have helped him out. But yeah, I think it'll be a big thing for people to not see him sitting. There's plenty of pictures, obviously, now we can go through and Getty of him scowling and look at the world.
They'll be flashing up on the screen as we say this.
But there won't be. But no one's going to see that. At Parkhead next month, which I think a lot of people will be disappointed at, that he's not actually there for sort of the potential crowning moment. But yeah, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? So yeah, not a surprise, but also a surprise the timing. Like,
Cammy?
Oh man, it's like an unceremonious end to his tenure. It's been quite ridiculous, the entire thing. Like, I mean, Rangers have obviously been relentless, applied loads of pressure on them, and it's just made their season capitulate. I think that is the truth. I think the fact that Rangers have managed to extend their form into the second half of the season has put his head in the chopping block, really. But like what you were saying, how come it took so long? It's because they were all convinced that the arse was going to fall out of Rangers after January. Like, that's why they kept them on. They thought, we'll go to Dubai, we'll do this. This team's, we spent £6 million on strikers in the summer. You know what I mean? Like, some of my pals at Celtic, I'm speaking to them, and they were saying this to me, and I'm like, "Yous are mental. Like, we've like spent on players who are already having, I know it maybe hasn't, but he's looked good, he's looked capable. But Kamar Roof in particular, I just thought it was just so short-sighted by them, and they're obviously just trying to get it over the line for this 10-in-a-row thing and that. But I will be gutted that he's not going to be there to see it, because honestly, say we did win it at Celtic Park, he'd be absolutely fuming. But I'm not surprised to see him go. And the backroom staff of like kind of, I don't know, three stooges of Kennedy, Brown and Gavin Strachan trying to get them over the end of the line this season. It's going to be quite something, man. And honestly, I'd love it as well if this just kind of rolled on and Hibs managed to somehow find a wee bit of form going into the split and made them very, very nervous indeed that they wouldn't get into the Champions League, because I think there's a potential for that. But not surprised. Timing is very strange. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they go for next.
Have either of you read the statement for Celtic announcing that he'd resigned?
I see that the resign thing. It's good because this is a Lennon classic. This, isn't it now? speech marks. But, yeah, I seen a wee brief thing on Twitter. That was it.
The complete lack of any humility in it, it's brilliant. I want to read a wee bit of it because I've got it in front of me here. This is Lennon speaking. We've experienced a difficult season due to so many factors, and of course it is very frustrating and disappointing that we've not been able to hit the same heights as we did previously. I have worked as hard as ever to try and turn things around, but unfortunately we've not managed to get the kind of run going that we have needed. I have always given my best to Celtic and have been proud to deliver silverware to the Celtic supporters. Like, come on, man.
P.S. Like, script, isn't it?
As a man who gave up 6 months ago, like, at the very worst, we have tried. We have worked. I have worked. I have tried. He's just, oh, man. For me, he's finished as well. He's done as in top level management.
No, you'll get a job. You'll get a job in like Lower League England or Scotland. You'll get another job.
You look at his history in England. He bombed in England. I mean, look what he done to Bolton. He's damaged goods up here. You look at how things at Hibs ended for him. You look at how things at Celtic's ended for him. He might get something in MLS, or he might get something in China, or one of these kind of places where they just throw money at random foreigners. But no, he's done, man. He's bye.
There's no mention of Forest in the statement there, no?
Surprisingly not. If
only we had James Forrest, I'd still be in a job. If only there was no pandemic. The thing is, we can all see it coming, right? This is the. Yeah, I'm not just talking about Lennon sagging. I mean, this season, and the progress that Rangers were making, and obviously it's so frustrating the last 2 seasons when things didn't happen in the second half of the campaign. But how can they have been watching Rangers, right, over the course of the last 2 seasons, seeing the progress that we're making domestically and in Europe, and have not seen this kind of rampant, considered, well-coached team coming together and giving them a proper challenge? How could they have been so lackadaisical about the entire thing? It's mad, but I mean, I'm not complaining, and they face a real challenge now to kind of catch up and get neck and neck with Rangers. Whatever they do next needs to be right. But good riddance to Neil Lennon. I'll not miss him, man. But the one thing I would have liked would have been to see him to see us win it at Parkhead with him there. I think that just would have been mental. You know what I mean? I honestly imagine it, right? Because afterwards, Rangers, Steven Gerrard now, he's been quite composed all season, runs onto the pitch, and it's going to be the usual. And like Talk Sport and all that, people going, "Oh, I thought that was very disrespectful," and all that. I would have loved to have seen that genuinely, but unfortunately, it's not going to be the case. So, yes, we move on.
Just before we kind of finish off on the Neil Lennon car crash, some of the names that have been mentioned, I just want to kind of get your thoughts on some of them, because for me they're utterly comical. Rafa Benitez.
Not a chance, Neil.
Roberto Martinez.
Belgium to literally the best team in the world.
Literally the number 1 team in the world. I think they're favourites for next year's World Cup. They're likely favourites for the Euros, but he's going to want to go to Glasgow's 3rd best team. It's like, come on, man. Frank Lampard was another one that I seen this morning.
See, Frank Lampard's a Rangers fan. So I went to the 2008 UEFA Cup final, but I don't know how big a Rangers fan he is. I don't know how much that would influence it, but he's considered a Rangers fan. See the Benitez one though, right? It's so ludicrous because Benitez is so close to Steven Gerrard, right? He's like Steven Gerrard's like mentor and all that. It's like, I think Steven Gerrard's previously said that he helped elevate his game and all that. So for the idea that he'd come to Celtic to go against, let's assume for a second that he would go there, but the idea that he would go there to face Steven Gerrard is so fanciful. Nah. Who do you think it'll be?
I think it'll be the bravest man in football, Sir John Kennedy.
John Kennedy.
You think they'll actually get it? You do think that?
I don't think they'd stand for it, surely.
No, I don't think
so.
I think that there'll be an awareness. I think that, I don't know, that the stadium might burn down if they don't actually appoint someone who's a proper manager.
They want to clear out, don't they? So, I think it'll be Eddie Howe because they want him. It pleases everybody.
He's been groomed for it for years. The guy's been bomb-proof. Absolutely bomb-proof. He's been part of the last 3 management teams at Celtic Park, I think, now. He failed badly with Ronnie Dyler. They failed badly with Neil Lennon. He's still there. I think as we do this, I think he's a bookie's favourite.
I think Steve Clark's the
No, he's drafted already quite badly.
Imagine the guy literally said that, like, he made that comment after was not playing a Rangers game. He was talking about the sectarianism in the west of Scotland, and how, like, he was delighted that Chelsea took him away from it and all that. And then if he took a Celtic job after that,
I see the Steve Clark thing as well. So is he being linked because he had a Kilmarnock team that used to take points off Rangers on a dodgy plastic pitch? Is that why he's been linked? Like, genuinely, because he had like, there's a press perception that he had the better of Steven Gerrard. I mean, I genuinely think that's what it's coming from. And obviously, the fact that maybe he's got a historic attachment to Celtic. I mean, I don't know.
Looking at the odds just now, the top 5 according to the bookies are Benitez is 5th favourite, Clark, Lampard, Eddie Howe, then John Kennedy by a bit of a distance.
I mean, I don't know.
I pray to every deity of every. I don't care if it's a spaghetti monster you believe in, if it's Buddha, if it's Ganesh, if it's Muhammad, if it's Jesus Christ. I don't care. I pray to every last one of them that they give it to John Kennedy, because I'm all in Celtic's banter years. I'm all in there.
That to me that sounds like a catastrophe. If they were, like, I'm not going to complain. A catastrophe. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it obviously directly affects us. You know what I mean? Because this is like we are now the benchmark. You know, and hopefully we go the rest of the season unbeaten. I mean, that would just really top it all off. The 10 in a row season, Lennon ousted. Do you know what I mean? Potentially win it at Celtic Park, and then go the season unbeaten. You know what I mean? And then not to mention winning the Europa League as well. You know what I mean? Because we're obviously. Honest to God, man, it would be madness. It's been a special season so far, and this is just like another part of it. But whoever they get, I don't know. It's going to have to be somebody. I think they're going to have to push their boat out a wee bit, because this Rangers team aren't going to be stopped easily. Like,
to go a bit Rangers down, we welcome the chase, whoever it is. But onto the important stuff. Thursday night, Europa League, Royal Antwerp. Rangers lead 4-3 after a mental first leg. It's really the only way. It's bonkers. Come to Ibrox, Rangers are in a fairly comfortable position to go into the last 16 in match where we got to last season. Cammy, what's your kind of initial thoughts on the game itself?
I fancy Rangers. You know, I know that they've got a few names coming back and stuff, but no, I think Rangers last week, the fact that we went for them and stuff shows that, like, on paper or in analysis, we felt as if we had the better of them. And I think now that we're bringing them back here, I think the challenge for the team will be more solid in defence, be more organised, be more ruthless. I think this is what Steven Gerrard was saying in the press conference, and I have full confidence in this team's ability to follow it through. So I'm expecting a big performance by Rangers. I'm expecting us to go out there and really not so much put on a show, but put on a professional performance and maybe win by a couple of goals and hopefully keep a clean sheet.
And Jordan, Gerrard spoke this morning confirming that Ryan Jack, James Tavernier and Kemar Roof are all going to miss out. How big a blow is that going to be for Rangers' hopes of making the last 16?
I mean, it's 3 big players, isn't it? Obviously, just Tav in general. Jack's been in and out because of injury, but when he's in, he's a massive player, and Roof showed in the group stages how big he can be in Europe and how much he's sort of up for the competition. So, I mean, yeah, it is. They are big blows. I think the main one is Tav, because of the lack of a natural replacement with Patterson not there either. So I think Balogun did a decent job. Showed some lovely flashes, really encouraging flashes against Dundee United on the right hand side, but you do lack something without a natural player there. And there's other times when obviously, naturally he looked a little bit clumsy in the role, and it leaves Rangers lacking a little bit. I don't think he'll be getting in the 6-yard box to win headers like Tav does about 5 times a game. So, I mean, Rangers have to change for that. But looking at it, I still think you can put a really, really strong team out, and a team that should be too strong for Antwerp. And I mean, I think the sort of reports were that they were getting a lot of their main guys back, but then they named their squad, and there's quite a few missing from that. So in Buchanan, the big striker, he's played for Dynamo Kiev and stuff in the Champions League. He's not there. But Zay is back, and then the captain's still out injured, one of their big centre backs. So that's right through the spine of the team. There's guys still missing for them. And yeah, I agree with Cammy. I think Gerrard will want it to be a less mental game. He'll want it to go to plan a lot more. I think he'd want to see the team go out and execute, having already got the advantage. But I think it'll be about keeping it relatively tight early doors, and then they're going to have to go for it. So they need to win by 2 clear goals. So then when things open up, hitting them and being sort of clinical when that happens.
Something Gerrard mentioned this morning too in his press conference was a want for a better defensive performance. Obviously, we conceded 3 goals over in Belgium. Does that, Cammy, do you think that was down to kind of Antwerp posing a real attacking threat? I think Rangers themselves were kind of more culpable for defensive errors and kind of gifting chances to the Belgians.
I think their goals came from like moments of kind of individual quality. You know, like a lot of them. I mean, exclude the penalty, obviously. Even though I thought the Rafalov had a good game, but he's obviously a very good player. Him. I mean, the cross for the first goal was a belter. The header was a belter, and then Hongla's finish again was a belter. I thought Rangers maybe never got tight enough, and I thought that we were sloppy, nervous at times, even in their first goal, giving away the free kick and stuff. And I thought I think Rangers need to just be a wee bit more focused, you know, and a wee bit more organised. I think we did have a role to play in that, and obviously Barisic's lost his man as well. But it was more a mix of individual errors on the Rangers' part and individual ability on Antwerp's part, which should really serve as a warning to Rangers as well, because they've obviously got players that could potentially hurt us. But I just think that we'll be much more concentrated this time, and I mean our defensive record at Ibrox really speaks for itself. So I'm expecting us to kind of shut up shop. Like Jordan says, I think they'll come. They have to come out to us. So I'm expecting Rangers to be ruthless and to be organised. And I think that one of the targets for the match will be to be more secure defensively. But for that to happen, I think that we need to do our jobs in terms of closing down and in terms of targeting their best players.
And 8 goals in the last 2 games from Rangers. We're in a good place attacking.
Yeah, I think that has improved in recent weeks. I think sort of in that it was so open the first leg of this tie, but I think the weekend was probably some of the best stuff Rangers have played in terms of link up and things like that for a wee while. And bringing, if Arfield comes back in the team as well, that, as we've spoken about before, like that helps the link up play and bridge the gap between the midfield and the front. So yeah, I think there's definitely still plenty of goals in the team, even without Tav providing the service from the right and without Roof. I do think though the defence will be something that there've been very few concerns across this season in general, but I do think that in Europe it has been not the best in general. That wasn't really a one-off. In Antwerp was 3 and 5 across 2 games against Benfica, who are obviously a good side, but still 5 goals, 2 at Ibrox against Standard Liège as well. And then even if you go back to last year, going 2-0 down to Braga and stuff like that, a lot of these are against good teams, but there is a slight gap between the unbelievable domestic defensive record and then once the quality lifts a little bit, there have been goals conceded. So yeah, I think just tighten up from set pieces in terms of defending those, be tighter to individual players, because maybe there's guys, and when you're playing the Europa League, you can do things that your average player in the Scottish Premiership might not be able to do in terms of like Ongla's finish, that header. Like you're not seeing many people on Saturday in the league scoring goals like that. So yeah, probably just a bit more focused, being a bit more aware. And yeah, I think with the team he can put out, there's going to be chances made by Rangers, as I said, like when a game stretches as well. But there's definitely, the lack of goals was a little bit of a worry for a while, but I don't think that's one going into the game anymore.
See as well, see the goals. No surprise, just got 8 goals since Morelos has been back in the team. Do you know what I mean? I think he's just huge. I know he's only scored 1 of them, but and it was a complete fluke. But I mean, there's no surprise. He links everything up. He's like kind of like the kind of wee crown jewel for Rangers, in more ways than one. And I think it's no surprise that we've been better in the final third since he's there, because he knits everything together. And I'm predicting a big game for him on Thursday.
I mean, looking at the team itself, I think probably, for me at least, probably 10 or 11 absolutely pick itself. So just kind of want to go through it a wee bit and just kind of get your thoughts on who we think is going to line up. I think defensively, the back five is going to be the same back five for numerous different reasons, with Tavernier being out, meaning Balogun's going to be at right back again, Goldson, Helander centre back, Barisic, at left back. No really much room for variation there just now, is there?
I mean, Jack Simpson's the only other one you might think could come in for Helander, because Balogun's obviously going to be playing at right back because of Tavernier. But again, the match is too big and significant, I think, to chuck him in. But if there was going to be one, that's really the only place that you can predict it. But I think Helander will start anyway.
And then there's the midfield three, which is where I think we'll probably disagree a little bit. Two of the three, Davis and Kamara. I think the third three, I think you both feel that Scott Arfield's going to start in there.
Yeah.
Well, I think probably be Joe Aribo. I think we've probably got a little bit more out of him playing him there in recent games than we have further forward. Don't know if what you think of that.
I just think the nature of if Rangers needed a 2-goal win, to win by 2 clear goals if a shoe was on the other foot, I think there'd be a case for him to start midfield, but I just don't think. I think he'd want to go as solid as possible with Jack out. I think Arfield starts these games 9 times out of 10. I think he's always, it'd certainly be in my team, and I think Gerrard sort of shown throughout the season when he's been fit that he wants him in there. While also putting Aribo in the team, because I think he spoke recently. Gerrard was asked about Aribo's position and the fact that he's obviously moving about the place, and he just sort of said that for me, if a player's good enough, they can play anywhere. So that sort of spoke to me that he doesn't really, he doesn't have a fixed idea of where he wants him at the minute. He just wants him in the team and to be able to sort of put his stamp on things from wherever. But I think it's important that he starts, but it's also important that Rangers are as solid as possible. I think they are considerably more solid with Arfield in there rather than Aribo.
I'd agree with that. I think I mean he'd be in my team as well. I just think that especially when you're talking about like Jack and the industry that Jack provides, I think unless it's obviously further forward you get something similar off Arfield, and maybe Aribo's a little bit more of a luxury. I mean I wouldn't call him a luxury player at all. I still think that he does a job for the team, but I think there's a kind of workhorseishness to Arfield that I think, especially without Jack, would bring a wee bit more balance to the team.
I mean, Gerrard said this morning that it looks like it's probably only going to be a few weeks that Ryan Jack's out. So if Rangers get through this, hopefully have him available for the last 16 game. But when everybody's fit, what is the strongest three there, do you think?
It's hard. It is. I mean, I think it's like horses for courses, which I think one of Steven Gerrard's favourite kind of sayings. But it depends who you're playing, but I mean, it's really difficult. It's hard to get the right balance because there's basically 4, potentially 5 if you're including Aribo in there, and Kamara, Davis, Jack, and Arfield, and potentially Aribo. How do you fit them in? And it's hard. Like I say, I think it depends on who you're playing, but probably in terms of just pure ability, you would probably see Davis, Jack, and Kamara. In terms of as just a central midfielder.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I don't think he has a favourite 3, but I think if it's a home game in the league, Kamara doesn't play if they're all fit. He just doesn't, because he doesn't offer the same amount going forward, the same range of passing. But if it's an important away game, he definitely starts. I also think that Arfield doesn't necessarily get into your team if for games for every single game, but if it's an Old Firm away, he starts. I think if it came down to going to Celtic Park and everyone was fit, I think one of either Jack or Davis would probably not play, because Kamara has been so brilliant in the derbies, and so he's a big man for an Old Firm. So Arfield, it gives you that sort of steeliness and the determination in there. So I think it is sort of horse for courses, and it's sort of an interesting one. And I think it also keeps everyone on their toes, because no one is like I am literally playing every game here. No one's like untouchable in it, because I think we saw on Old Firm earlier in the season, Jack didn't play. That could be Davis this time around if Jack's fit. But I mean, it's tough for me to say that he'd take Stephen Davis out of any team. But I mean, I think the two of them, it'd be unlikely that the two of them would play together, unless he decided to shift Arfield forward. But I think Arfield would play in games of that size and stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
So moving on to the front three, again, I think it's largely picks itself. Kent and Morelos are both nailed on starters, and then it becomes the third one where I personally think it will be Yanis Hadji.
No shock there.
No shock there. Unpredictable if nothing else. I think there's a better balance with Hadji on the right and Aribo in the midfield three than having Aribo as kind of one of the front three. But yeah, what do you think?
I think it'll be Aribo, but it's between the two of them. No matter what one he picks, I think that they both offer different things, and they're both very, very talented young players who can change a game. So what a dilemma to have. But for me, I think just because of the form the guy's been in, and because I think that he'll start a more industrious midfield, that Aribo will play in the right, and I'm excited to see him, because he's on sublime form. He's absolutely amazing to watch at the minute. So I mean, and Hadji as well. Hadji's on great form. So I mean, no matter either or suits me, but I think it will be Aribo.
Given his performances off the bench since arriving, what's the chances of curveball Scott Wright maybe getting thrown into the mix?
I don't think so, and this certainly not from the start. I think there's a chance that he comes on. At some point, but I just can't see him changing it, because Kent's 100% starting after not starting the first leg, coming in doing really well, scoring at the weekend as well. So there's no chance of him dropping out. Obviously, you need your striker in the team, and the fact that both, that there is competition between Aribo and Hadji means that there's no real room for him there. Yeah, he's shown glimpses, but I mean, those other two have been producing goals, performances from the start. And it's just, I don't think it's a situation where he would take that kind of risk when it's not necessary, especially when he's having to make changes to other areas of the team, because of players missing. So,
Cammy?
I'd say so as well. And I mean, maybe I got off the bench, that'd be good. It really depends on how the match goes. But he's shown that he's more than capable. And again, what I was impressed with Scott Wright is he links up with players, and it's like that old cliche that good players can play together. It shows you that he's got a level of ability, the fact that he can mix it with these guys at Rangers, and he can play with them. And the early signs with the guy is promising. So I think he'll get an opportunity from the start. I think he's knocking at the door, but I don't think that's going to come on Thursday.
Magic. Anything else you would like to add or chuck in, or whatever else, other than laughing more at Neil Lennon?
Score predictions?
Mate, you want me here? I think we'll win 3-0. I think we'll win comfortable. I fancy Rangers on Thursday. I mean, this might come back and bite me, but I genuinely, I think that we got the better of them last week. I think that we're well drilled against them. They've got to come out. I think that we'll be much more defensively sound. And I fancy it. Once you get like a goal ahead or whatever, and they've got to score 3, the energy saps out them. So it's difficult for them to fight. They need to start well, and they need to get the first goal. But I think if Rangers get it, then the dynamic of the game changes. I fancy us to be comfortable.
Jordan?
I'll go 2-1.
2-0. I've got a feeling there'll be a clean sheet again. I think Gerrard's spoken about the defensive side and wanting to have an improvement from last week. So I do think that it's going to be something that there's going to be a real focus on. And I think it may even come at the expense of being a bit more offensive in the way we play. They may look to go, let's just show that we can really keep things tight, keep this team locked out. And if it means we only win 1-0 rather than 3, we've only scored once rather than 3 or 4, we'd rather get the clean sheet. Because if you get the clean sheet, you're going through regardless. So yeah, that's 2-0 for me. But yeah.
Exciting.
Anything?
Just excited, man. Back, it'll be good. And it's the 6 o'clock kick-off as well. A wee bit of an earlier time. Did we play a 6 o'clock kick-off the entire group stages? I don't think we did.
5:55.
Ibrox rather. Yeah.
Nah, yeah, I think there
no.
were ones.
No, I'm sure it was not the away ones were early games.
Aye.
The home games were late kickoff.
Yeah.
So that's a wee bit weird. We're playing at 6.
I just flipped it around this time.
Because I mean, normally the away ones are at 6, but I know I'm looking forward to it, and then hopefully we're in the heart for the draw.
Magic. So just remember to like and subscribe. We'll be back with more videos during the week, and thanks for watching.